Ron?
Yeah.
We'll just go out of order. That way we can Testing? Whoa. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this City of North Miami Beach's Council Conference meeting of Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015. And just for the record, Madam Clerk, will you just take the roll, please?
Vice Mayor DeFilippo.
Present.
Councilwoman Kramer.
I'm here.
Councilwoman Martell. Councilman Pierre. Councilwoman Smith.
I believe she's in the back. She's here.
Okay. Councilwoman Spiegel.
I'm here.
And Mayor Valle.
I'm here. Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to, we've got our presentations. I'm going to go ahead a little bit out of order here for a couple of our folks to arrive. So, Madam Manager, let's go ahead and begin with the Award for Excellence in Public Procurement Best Practices. So,
yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, residents, and members that are here with us from the public and special guests. We've been taking great strides to enhance all of our operation following the direction of Mayor and Council and our strategic plan. And we're very, very excited and very honored today to be able to bring to you a very, very special award, two very special awards that were bestowed upon the city of North Miami Beach, and they were bestowed on our Department of Procurement at the helm and led by Brian O'Connor. And these two awards represents excellence and best practices in procurement that lead to best practices in how we procure goods and services and how we secure a best bottom line. So it's all tied into fiscal responsibility. I'm going to turn it over to our Deputy City Manager who oversees this department and take it off.
Well, thank you. Council, it was just not even a year ago where we adopted, or you adopted unanimously, our strategic plan with the stated goals, two stated goals of having a city that is financially sound and a high-performing city organization providing great customer services. You all have a copy of this laminated summary page of it. So it's a pleasure for me to bring up Mr. O'Connor, our Chief Procurement Officer. He leads an impressive team and highlight two amazing awards he and his great team applied for and consequently won. With a little bit of training and a little reorganization and upgrading and bringing in the right staff with the manager's leadership, we really did an amazing job. Not even a year ago, brought in some key people, got some people there trained really well. We're still working on getting them all certified, but you're looking at a group that has really put forth the focus in training and the focus in delivering services for the employees, for the residents, to make sure that the effort, the financial wherewithal is going to, as you used to say, Mayor, I used like to say, that pointy end of the spear. And that is making sure that we're getting the goods, the services at the right price, a wide breadth of competition. And so it's with great pleasure. Brian, if you can just come up here, please. First, we've got the award. It's the Award of Excellence. And that is this one right here. The Award of Excellence was awarded to only 17 organizations throughout the state. This Award of Excellence, to qualify and to be recognized, you have to go through a rigorous 7 criteria, general criteria with specific guidelines to demonstrate that the processes, the procedures that they have employed, that they have set forth, are among the best throughout the state. So this is the Award for Excellence. Brian, congratulations to you and your team. It's amazing. And
could we just rewind a second?
Yep.
Did you say that there were only 17 in the entire state of Florida?
That's correct. That's
out of the municipalities
and counties as well. This is the
so out of 501 entities.
Right.
Correct.
This is the Florida Association of Public Procurement Officials organization.
Wow.
So this is a statewide organization, and this is the designation of excellence throughout the procurement division. And then,
that's fabulous. Great work.
And then what I think is even amazing, and what I love about this is this wasn't even with prompting from anyone except for within the division. The group sat together and said, let's show how good we can be, and let's really strive to reach that mark of excellence and best practices. And so as a group, they looked around, they knew the FAPO, and they said, I think we can get to these levels of distinction. And what I think is excellent and so unique is to be excellent is one piece, right? That's where you have the existing policies, the procedures, the method of work, that's in place. But the best practice is a complete pivot where it's creativity, and it's doing something new, and it's doing something unique, and it's changing the procurement environment. And so what they did, they won the Best Practices Award by furthering the procurement industry. And what they did was they created a newsletter. And it's not just a simple newsletter, but it's a newsletter dedicated toward the procurement, obviously, industry, and focused on what we do inside, and focus on training, and focus on informing, and focus on getting the information to the right people at the right time. And so what this division said was, we have this innovation of this newsletter delivered electronically, so it's low cost, it's entertaining, there's a comic in it, they use a term of the month that educates all of us on different procurement terminology. And so they took what could be very boring and what could be rather mundane and made an amazing communication device that trains and furthers their goal of getting to make sure we're getting the best services at the best price. So Brian, based on best practices and award excellence, congratulations to you, congratulations to your amazing team, and I know you're just going to get better and better.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I have to say, my team that is in place has been something. I came in here in 2009, and the team I have today is the best team that I've worked with ever. And they have a heart of gold. They really care what they do. And this is the first step in the rise for our department. This is really the manager, the council. You've given us the opportunity last October. You gave us the last piece of the puzzle for us, that last position that we had as a part-time, to make it a full-time position. It really kind of solidified our department. It made that catalyst for us to take that next step. And what we did was, as Mac described, as a team, they brought it and said, let's move forward and show what we can do. And that's only really the first initiative. We're going to keep continuing to grow, look at other awards, and just keep continuing to stay with best practices throughout our organization. We subscribe to the NIGP National Chapter, our local chapters. We continue to be educated in our field, and this is what it's all about, and this is what I think that every governmental entity should be doing, just keeping up with your own field. So it's just in step with what we're doing, and we're going to get better as we rise. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Great job.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brian.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Deputy Manager Serta. Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, Director O'Connor. Great job. All right, let's go ahead and move. I think, Chief, you've got the first one up is the Police Explorers presentation. You have that, right? Okay.
If I can get Trooper Destali and Police Advisor Johnson Jean to step forward, please. Okay.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Wait, you're missing part of your uniform.
I love the hat.
As we said so many times, we have such a great Explorer program, and it's developed some absolutely fabulous young people. And the two individuals we're going to have here today, starting with Trooper Destali, is a prime example of what the molding that this department was able to do with these young men to make them even more responsible and a better possibility to serve their community in another method. So let me tell you a little bit about Trooper Stevens Destali. He was born in Framingham, Massachusetts, and was raised in North Miami Beach. He has three brothers. He attended local schools, part of the robotics club, and a buddy reading program advisor. He was a police explorer within MBPD from 2008 to 2012, where he climbed to the rank of Colonel of Explorers. I just found out that Chief was below Colonel, so we got to talk.
I know, right?
Stevens was also selected as the Tri-County Youth Explorer Board President from 2010 to 2012, and had several commendations from Commissioner Sally Hayman's office and the community for his assistance in various projects. Trooper Stevens attended Miami-Dade College for 1 year, studying criminal justice, was hired by FHP in October 2014, where he attended FHP Academy, graduating in May of 15. And he is prepared to start his FTO assignments in Fort Myers in June 5th, 2015. So congratulations. And not only congratulations for your appointment as a trooper, but thank you very much for everything you did for North Miami Beach. The Explorers do just such a great job. I see you have a large number of them here today, so supporting you. So congratulations. Thank you, sir. Be well and be safe. Godspeed.
Don't give me. Just in case, he's the white Escalade. Tag number.
It's the white Escalade.
Oh boy, Trooper Dostali, congratulations and thank you for everything you've done in our city, and we wish you the best of success in your new career. We're very, very proud of you, and everybody in the city is very proud of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. And next up, sir, as I told you folks before, we're putting together something called the Junior Police Chief for the Day contest. And I have part of my command staff, my junior command staff, that they'll come forward at this time. Chief Lawrence, Assistant Chief Arnott. Oh, Miss Bautista is here. How are you, Christy? I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the slideshow that was running earlier, but they had such a good time. We had such a good time with them. To be selected for this, there were over 100 essay contest applicants, and the top 6 were chosen, and out of the top 6, I chose the top 3. And it was fascinating how these young people had such insight into ways to address crimes and issues of our community. And with that being said, I'm going to give each one of you just a second to tell me just real quick what your suggestion was. We'll start with Chief Lawrence.
My suggestion was to start a group called Kids Citizen Patrol. And I have 14 kids in my neighborhood, and there's 7 days in each week, and 2 of us will go each week and go to the fort.
She thought of an idea to have a squad system set up. She figured the staffing and all, and they were going to go and they were going to check on elderly people in their community, and also to check on moms that were there by themselves and make sure they were okay, and also to serve as eyes and ears of the police department. So we thank you very much for your interest in the community. And tell me, what was your favorite part of the day from Chiefs for the Day?
The boat.
The boat.
It's always the boat.
And Assistant Chief Baptiste, tell me real quick what yours was about.
Mine was about texting and driving and how we should make a big announcement and encourage everybody to put their phones down when they're driving so we can cause less car accidents.
That's right.
Was that not brilliant?
Yes.
Very good. And Assistant Chief Arnott.
How people could put cameras on their house so if people have curse words and stuff, they could stop saying it, and police should be around my neighborhood 30 minutes per hour per day. Every 30 minutes, he was going to require them to go by and check and make sure everything's okay. So they had a great time. We were able to take them out on the boat. They rode the MRAP. They attended a luncheon to recognize the real police officers of the month for that month, and we had a real good time with you. Thank you very much. We had such a good time, and I have a little something for each of you as well. Thank you. And I would be very remiss if I didn't say
we have to acknowledge the parents of these young children that are in the audience, and grandmother and an aunt, I think. Please stand up. Give yourself a great... You guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Dennis. And once again, congratulations, Junior Chief Lawrence, Junior Assistant Chief Ordnat, and Junior Chief Baptiste. Congratulations. Congratulations to your families. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Very proud of you. Okay, our last item is we've got a presentation, information presentation for the council and for the residents from All Aboard Florida and South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. And I know I saw Mr. Quinty back there, and I thought I saw somebody from AAF, Mr. Morante was back there, right? I'm waiting on my call. Waiting, okay, no problem. So we'll I guess, is Mac, are you in charge, or just?
We can get
any
started with
preamble, or?
South Florida Regional Transportation.
All right. Mr. Quinty?
Great. Well,
Take it
you,
away.
Mayor, Council, and Administration. My name is Joe Quinty with the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. We're best known as the operators of the Tri-Rail system. And I have a brief presentation. I think it's been about a year since I've been here. And in the spirit of partnership, one of the great things that's been happening over the past year is how closely we've been working with All Aboard Florida and the Florida East Coast Railway and Florida East Coast Industries, their parent company. So I'm going to walk you through a slideshow that gives you a little bit of update on our part and the partnership, and All Aboard folks can tell you about some of the actual construction. What they're doing is even more real than what we're talking about that's being accelerated, and you see some of the direct impacts to the crossings here in the city. So one of the first things we try to explain is the difference between All Aboard Florida and the Tri-Rail Coastal Link project. All Aboard Florida is a 200-plus mile system that's intercity express rail, and the biggest designation that's a difference is it's completely privately financed, and it's also going to be privately operated. Whereas we are more regional and local in nature, stations every 2 to 5 miles. We're seeking a mix of public funding sources, more traditional implementation of the project. This is the vision of what we're trying to build together. On the left side, you'll see that's the existing Tri-Rail system in the red and blue line on the left side. That's the former CSX corridor, and on the right side in the green and red is the FEC. And what we've crafted with our partners at the Florida DOT is a system, a network of 3 systems that are interconnected and complementing each other. So North Miami Beach would be one of the 25 stations ultimately from northern Palm Beach County to downtown Miami that would be part of the system. The thing about this project, though, is while it's moving along, best case scenario, going through all the various processes, is about 5 to 6 years away before it would all come together, which for a project of this magnitude still is relatively fast, but everybody, myself included, wants to see things happen faster. And the conversation is starting to change largely.
Can I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Can I go back to that slide? I just one quick question. The blue and the red look. Okay, to my eyes, it looks like the red at the top is Mangonia Park, right?
Yes.
That's the current last stop on the Tri-Rail.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So there's a link in the middle in Pompano Beach that is an existing freight spur that we're looking to upgrade so that it directly ties the lines together. So it would start up in Mangonia Park, come down through our Pompano station today, and then hang a left across the new freight spur, and then onto the FEC, Oakland Park, downtown Fort Lauderdale, Aventura, North Miami Beach, downtown Miami.
So in other words, people, if they're coming from, let's say, West Palm, southbound, they would have to, if they wanted to go onto the airport, for example, would they have to switch trains?
We would have a time transfer at Boca Raton with a train waiting across the platform to have you keep going. Like
So that one, okay, because that one keeps going. Okay, got it.
So that's the ultimate vision of what we want to do. But now there's some variations of that looks like they're going to be able to happen a lot faster.
Okay.
I want to point out that the great work that the city and the CRA have been doing, similar work happening up and down the region. That the vision of various downtown and downs and redevelopment is centered around these future stations. So pointing out that the great work that you're doing is being replicated in some ways, not quite. I think the rapid nature of your upzoning and things you're doing here is really stood out. We've been using this slide everywhere, no matter which of the 3 counties showing your your concept plan, but it really points out that you're well situated, that you've got a 25-minute run on board the train when we build the system to downtown Miami and to downtown Fort Lauderdale. So you're right in the middle of great things and having great access to your residents and visitors.
Madam Manager, let's make sure to send him a bill for the use of the slides.
So starting in the next 2 years, we're going to be working with you even more closely to officially lock in to the block the site of where the station is going to be. So that's something we want to make sure happens in a 1.5 to 2 year process. But the conversation is starting to change partly because of a partnership between ourselves, the Florida DOT, and the two railroads, that there are 2 freight connections, one up in the West Palm Beach area and one right around Hialeah in unincorporated county, right around 71st Street, that we've always wanted to do to help move trains back and forth for various reasons. And the grant was done with the thought of rationalizing the freight movements. So the goal of this was actually to use this new freight connection to move some of the through freight that goes through your town actually to potentially go on the existing Tri-Rail corridor instead and connect back up to points further north. But one of the great side effects of that is it opens up the possibilities for near-term Tri-Rail extensions as well. As my director likes to say, if freight can run across it, so can passenger. And so that's opened up some new opportunities that has really been a focus of the last 6 months. What's been tied to that effort has been the fact that in downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale, and downtown West Palm Beach, we've been coordinating closely with All Aboard Florida to ensure that anything we're looking to do, we don't want to go and look silly and rip out anything that's being done in any of the downtowns. It's easiest done in Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, where we're looking to just slide in a platform next to what's being planned for All Aboard Florida. But the process in downtown Miami has been accelerated because the decision was harder. They're building 50 feet elevated up in the air. This slide shows a cross-section. And so with our coordination with the All Aboard team has been that there will be 3 tracks and platforms for All Aboard Florida and 2 for the Tri-Rail service. Problem is, when we were doing this coordination, when you talk 5 or 6 years out, the thought was getting public funding to do that now was a little bit hard. So we all started thinking harder about how can we accelerate our effort to bring service in, as well as knowing that that really helps drive the decision to get public funds for the downtown Miami station. So this is a little bit broader view. You see what's happening in downtown Miami is pretty amazing what the All Aboard team is doing. They're bringing development directly on top of the station. It's jump-starting other efforts immediately adjacent to it. So again, this, just to further clarify that we can't come back in later and build some sort of elevated Tri-Rail track. We've got to figure this out in downtown Miami now, or else we're going to lose this opportunity forever.
Is that piece of the puzzle, has that been solved at this point?
So that's the next couple slides.
Oh, okay, go
I'm
ahead.
getting there. So generally what we've come up with is the Tri-Rail Downtown Miami link. It's something that's been in the papers quite a bit for the last 6 to 8 months. It really builds upon the strengths of our existing system. We split our trains in half. Half go directly to the airport, half directly go to downtown Miami. We're looking at variations to make sure the airport is fully served in this as well. But generally, so it utilizes that freight connection I just spoke about, runs direct trains across it, a one-seat ride on the Tri-Rail system to downtown Miami, which a lot of folks have been seeking for a very long time. So really, this also brings a lot of credibility where we've been talking about FEC expansion for Tri-Rail for so long. People's eyes glaze over, say, have you been coordinating? Is this still just a dream? So this really shows less than 2 years this could happen, be in the ground, and then it forms the base to do the rest of the system. So the best part about this is the cost of doing this is only $68.9 million, which in transportation terms is very little. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but for something of this magnitude is really something. And again, you're leveraging the commitments and investments that have already been made. One of the key things in this slide I'll point to is the middle one is the $1 million access fee from the rail connection to downtown Miami. One of the things that's always been talked about is, are you coordinating with the railroad? Do you have permission to do this? It's, everyone will acknowledge it's a steal of the deal for us. They knew the railroad has known that this is a tough time crunch we're under to make this deal. So they said, don't get too excited. That's the template for the rest of the system. But understanding, so that's one-time permanent easement, again, for public commuter rail access from the new rail connection directly into the station. The station has been the harder part to help fund. The state, there's some nervousness about being too directly tied with the private investment. It's a harder nut to crack. When you're talking about just doing rail investment, state and others can come to it. So again, we've been working with partners such as the CRA, DDA, and others to make this happen.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
What total land use or square footage would it require to have this hub? Once it's built, the perimeter of it. What are we looking at?
Sure. Well, first off, it's already being constructed now. So one of the time crunches we were under is basically by July 1, they wanted a public commitment because our tracks, elevated section of it, there's space to do it now, but that is about to be used up. So the overall complex is pretty amazing. I do not have the square footage of the overall complex. I know if any of my all board colleagues, when they get here, I'm sure can, or I know some. I know they're close, so maybe they can help speak to that when they talk about the direct impacts. But it's a pretty massive complex. It really is something worthy of being called a transportation hub, elevated in the air with great amenities both within it and appropriate land uses being right on top of it and adjacent to it.
That's the one in downtown, but to say for the one that's proposed for North Miami Beach, would that be the same size?
Oh, I can speak to that. It's a completely different scale.
Okay,
what we're trying to do is fit into the community. And really leave it, what we've learned from our experiences on the Tri-Rail system is we do not want to, we've got a lot of big park and ride lots that are owned by the state. They have some restrictions by the way they were built. Some of them were tied into I-95 construction. In some ways, it hems the way we can redevelop and develop it. Where we're trying to coordinate well in advance, slide in the appropriate block, and work with the private investment. The CRAs and the cities know their landowners. They know their redevelopment plans. We're trying to feed you the best information to make appropriate decisions about if there's a parking deck coming in, can certain spaces be allocated to our system, things like that. We're not trying to come in and build a big, massive. We're hoping that really it's the private folks on their own trying to do things that fit in better than us doing it ourselves.
Very well.
Sure. So the funding partners for the Downtown Miami Link effort, the $68.9 million that's on the table right now. The great news is it's not just the city and county, other variations, the CRAs and DDAs knowing the development benefits are partners with us at the table on that. And so those agreements to make this happen are all on the table with a lot of these entities that you see here throughout the month of June. So, it's very exciting. There's a committee process for the county that starts in early June, goes through the CITT in the middle of June, into the county commission at the end. I believe June 28th is the last date, to make it all happen. The city commission is the prior week. So again, late June, there's a lot of action, and then it comes to our board late June as well. So generally, it's very promising. That the feedback has been very, very promising. Of course, until you get that final approval and agreement, you don't count your chickens until they're hatched. So that's really exciting, and what it really does is jumpstart the rest of the system. This is a closer view of the red line is the downtown link. The black line is showing the existing Tri-Rail system. Just to show you where it's located, and the blue dot is the coastal link building up closer to North Miami Beach. But this map I really want to keep there for a moment is really, this has jump-started a lot of conversations at the county level with Mayor Jimenez, Commissioner Bovo, who's the chair of the County Transit Committee, and with the CITT, that seeing this really in the ground in less than 2 years, our hope is by, All Board Florida is still targeting a December 26, 2016 opening date. We think we can be in shortly after. So if by first quarter 2017 we're in this station, you see it's real, it makes it a whole lot easier. It's made this deal being able to happen, and then this sort of time frame as overall county-wide efforts have stalled, has really said, let's look at our existing rail corridors, further up the FEC and Miami-Dade, but also I point out that purple dotted line that goes out west of the airport and ties in there. That's a CSX spur that is partly owned by the state. The first 4.5 miles or so is already owned by the state, and the rest can go out towards the Dolphin Mall. So it's really sort of started to change the discussion at the county level. And to give you the order of magnitude of cost, overall Coastal Link, all three counties, is $800 million. That's why we want to go through a federal process to make it all happen. However, if you break it out in pieces, it gets a lot more manageable and reasonable. And early estimates to go up to Aventura, once you get this downtown station in place, is only in the 100 to 120 million range. So again, not something to sneeze at, but a lot more reasonable, and that's factoring all the stations and rolling stock. So there's a lot of interest in trying to jump-starting doing the environmental work to make sure the entire 80 miles up to Palm Beach is cleared environmentally and is eligible for federal funds. But no, there could be a lot more creative ways to get this up to the county line using some other sources, potentially leapfrogging only a year or two after this downtown link comes in as well. So closing slide, the next steps, again, I mentioned, this month of June is a big one for us, going through all the processes through the city of Miami, through the county and the alphabet soup of agencies. But the Coastal Link, don't forget about, there's an official process that has gotten slowed down. It's, I joke around with my all aboard colleagues that the only thing they've done, that their work going up all the way up to Orlando, that environmental process has been slowed down a hair, and the state's directive has been do not go out in the public to try to get the overall Coastal Link meetings and all these efforts that need to happen until the all aboard process has settled down. They don't want to see two teams talking about rail in northern Palm Beach County, getting things confused. We're waiting for that process to sort of get resolved, which we think is close. And so basically by this fall, we think there will be meetings officially for the Coastal Link process happening again. We thought it could happen earlier. Unfortunately, that's been delayed, but there's been great things happening in the meantime. So again, we're going to be reaching back out to your staff for official meetings. You'll see public meetings. Typically, you have places like Legion Park in northern part of the city of Miami. Other places up in, you're going to see a public outreach blitz this fall, and a lot more coordination directly with your staff happening again starting this fall as well. So exciting times, but again, we thought it was appropriate. The All Aboard team wants to talk about some direct impacts to the city with their construction. That again, it's exciting. West Palm Beach to Miami for All Aboard, they're breaking ground. They're starting to build. We're excited to be able to leverage and build, follow their lead, come right in after them. And then we can inch up, and then they're trying to, so basically for both projects now, it looks like downtown Miami is the base, and all efforts sort of build north from there.
Okay, got a question for you. The process that you were referring to on the last slide, is that what they call that NEPA or whatever it is?
Exactly.
So it says here, okay, let me start from the top. Tri-Rail, the downtown Miami link. This first little bullet point, funding agreements with multiple agencies. Is this the problem, that the political issue that's been happening for the last several months? Where is that this issue, or is that something else?
There was some initial city county back and forth on this
of where the money was going to come from, right?
And that's the thing. I'll be honest, we were nervous as heck starting this process in December. It's one thing you can say you've got a process to accelerate things, but actually making the ask for money is never easy. Even what seems reasonable from a transportation standpoint, it required a changing of priorities for a lot of agency in a very short window of time to meet the All Aboard construction schedule. So that was a lot of angst at first, trying to figure out how to, when you're ever talking money, the exact breakdown and who pays what share is always very challenging. So there was some initial pushback on that, or back and forth over who's paying the appropriate share, the CRAs, et cetera. So that all seems, it's looking very promising that the right split, the right makeup of these funding agreements has been established. Those are all going to various, they're going to various entities this month. So it's exciting. It's really been warp speed as far as transportation generally works. But these agreements are looking like they're going to be happening, all getting approved this month.
Okay. Now, on there there's an environmental review process listed for the downtown link, for the airport Miami downtown link, but then there's also the starting of the environmental on the bottom one for the coastal link.
Sure.
I had heard that the coastal link, just the environmental, was like 2 years. Is that correct?
By now, the federal process for that sort of work says it can't be longer than 2 years, but generally it's a 1.5 to 2 year process. Downtown Link, we're very fortunate that the infrastructure is all completely within the FEC right-of-way or within what All Aboard Florida is already building. So it's a much more rapid, streamlined environmental process that should be a 6 to 8 month environmental process that we've been coordinating already with the Federal Transit Administration and the Federal Rail Administration on that. So that's another one that's, because of All Aboard Florida's work, because of the other things having already happened, we can blast through that process very fast. When you're not buying anybody's land, when all you're doing is taking existing infrastructure and layering some additional trains on top of it, it's a lot easier process through the federal to go through.
So let's go back to just on Tri-Rail Coastal Link, because that's really the one that will have the direct impact with us. I just got a couple of questions. Number one, that if a miracle happens and everything goes, as perfectly, when more or less would we anticipate trains coming to NMB?
I think the way there's excitement and potential interest in breaking off the Miami-Dade piece and doing something faster, I think it could be a 3.5 to 4 year, which is better than 5 or 6. But it's exciting to know that 5 or 6 for the overall, all the way up to Palm Beach, is really a best case scenario. That means you're chasing federal dollars everywhere. I think it's a lot more realistic, and there's even a chance potentially to, again, with how impressive the partnership has been with Florida East Coast Industries in making this happen, there could be the possibility to try to take as many aspects of this and speed it along. But to be safe, I'd say 2018, 2019 is more.
Okay. Because in essence, the piece to get up to, let's say, just if we stay inside Dade County, which would obviously that would be our section. FEC is already doubling the tracks, right?
Correct.
And the rest of it then becomes the stations, which you guys. Now let's move to the city's involvement when it comes to the wherever this station goes. Whether it's on the north side of 163rd, south side, whatever. It's obviously going to be somewhere in this in that. You guys basically pay to put down a platform, and that's it, right?
Well, that's one of the things with working with the Florida DOT. For every state, one of the things that's going to really be happening a lot during this project development and environmental work over the next 1.5 to 2 years is working closely with you to say, beyond that platform, there is some parking. Of course, we would like to put there. That's not the focus, but there needs to be some parking.
Well, you need to have parking, right?
Yes, we do.
And more or less, how much is that?
Well, that's the question is, ideally 150 to 200 spaces per station is what we like to do. We know, however, it's a lot of constrained areas where there's not just land sitting around. The last thing we want to do is buy land, to be quite honest.
Got it.
It's expensive, it's time consuming, and we don't want to take land off the tax rolls.
So, in essence, then, what is it? You're kind of looking, this is where you would be looking for the city, a partnership type of thing for the city to kind of work together with you guys and probably development community to try to come up with a solution that solves this problem, right?
Exactly. It saves us from buying land. It's a win-win for everybody involved. And so the timing is to figure those sorts of deals out is to happen during this next 2 year period.
Okay, so within the next so now is when we need to start seeing these conversations.
We're waiting for the all-aboard environmental process way to the north to get resolved, so then that officially starts our clock that can't take any longer than 2 years to go with the federal government.
Got it. And the problem you're having up north, this is what, up in Palm Beach County, they don't want all aboard going through there? Is that the deal?
It's generally even further north of them. Some of it's crept down in the northern Palm Beach County, but I don't want to speak for them. But it's frustrating. We're monitoring things in all 3 counties. Palm Beach County has actually been amongst the most aggressive to bring Tri-Rail. They want to use the northern freight piece that I showed that's going to be ready in 2018. They want to bring a spur of us up there to northern Palm Beach County, which is one of their highest MPO priorities, believe it or not. A very different environment than here in Miami-Dade, but they're pushing hard. They see the benefits of it. The region wants it. There's issues with a lot of details of the 2 projects everywhere that some people don't like that we all try to work through and make happen.
Okay. Let me go ahead and let me go here for questions, and we'll come in. We'll circle around. Go ahead, Councilman.
Good evening. I didn't hear it. The noise was not on in the room, but I know you from Neat Streets, formerly CIAB, and my comment there and my comment's the same. Because the surrounding communities will benefit, like Sunny Isles and Miami Gardens. When we have the fees, whatever they may be, at one time they were talking about each municipality contributing $1 million. I think we as a municipality have to partner and make sure that the municipalities that benefit but can't have the rail running through their city contribute to that. And I think that's something as the management that we should get on board with these municipalities like Sunny Isles and Miami Gardens. The rail doesn't run through there, but they certainly benefit, and they may want to start to do shuttles. And so we have to lay the groundwork to do that so that we don't have the entire brunt of the cost. And I think that that's very important because they will benefit, there's no question about it. And they will start to bring in some of their own transport from the hub to their cities. So in doing so, we also should have them participate in the beginning groundwork of it.
Well, I definitely think there is some logic to that. I mean, the more coalition of municipalities that can, the more that everybody's on the same page and working together, again, there are direct benefits to the community right where the station is, but there are broader benefits. And the more we can tie in with shuttles, gosh, the way Uber and things like that are taking off, knowing the sort of communities you're mentioning that could have easy access. One thing that's really happening a lot in California now with Caltrain and Metrolink, which are two peer agencies of ours, is the amazing number of Uber and Lyft trips that are actually taking people to and from those rail stations. So, the bus system's important, the shuttle system's important, but there's also a whole new realm of technology that's important that can tie into this as well. So, the funding aspect is going to be discussed a lot in the next 2 years as well. That's one of the critical. When we end that 2-year period, we need environmental approvals, and we need to have a funding plan that we want to have regional consensus on, but the reality is it seems more and more likely that it's going to be more of a county-by-county approach on how this gets funded. Broward is talking about coming back out with a sales tax towards transit and transportation in 2016, perhaps as early as that. Palm Beach is starting to kick around the same sort of idea. Miami-Dade already having one. The CITT is kind of starting to reinvestigate, these cheaper rail options. Could they cobble together out? But we know there are some new sources, one way or the other, in all three counties that need to be plugged into this. It used to be just municipal thinking. Now there's the broader thinking sort of seems to be happening again at a county level. So
But when there's funding from the county or from the state that comes with regulations, and as a municipality, we may want to expand that, whether it be parking garages or shuttles or what have you. And that's why I think the groundwork for the municipalities that abut us needs to start now as well. That conversation needs to go into their cities as well.
All right. Councilman DeFilippo, did you have another question? Because if not, we've got the AAF guys here. So
No, I'll go ahead and pass this back.
All right. Are we all set, Mr. Quinney? Thank you. Let me go ahead and let's jump to the All Aboard Florida team. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. Francois Iaz, Vice President of Corporate Development, Florida East Coast Industries, parent company at All Aboard Florida. Thank you, and I apologize. Got caught in a little traffic headed over here from Coral Gables, so it got a little bit more difficult to get over here. I'd like to start off first by thanking yourself, Mr. Mayor, and the council for all the support you've given All Aboard Florida. We're at a position today that the realization of this project, as Mr. Quincy just mentioned, is in the horizon, and you'll begin to see some significant movement along the corridor now as it relates to the rail improvement, the quiet corridors, and some other activities start coming to reality. I'll take a minute and not too much of your time just to brief you as to where we're at from station to station construction and rail. West Palm Beach Station is currently under construction. Estimated delivery will be winter of 2016. The company handling that is Moss Construction. Fort Lauderdale Station is also under construction. Estimated delivery time fall to winter of 2016. Moss Construction is also the general contractor at that station. As you heard earlier, Miami Central, which is the station in downtown Miami, is currently under construction. The general contractor for that station is Suffolk Construction. They'll be handling that major 9 acres, and then we have an ancillary facility with the Southeast Overtown Park CRA, which is being built by Fashina Construction, which is a mixed-use operation building with retail on the lower half. Further to update as to Miami Central, as you know, the station as it reaches I-395 begins to elevate south of I-395. So the pilings, which will elevate the station, we have approximately 1,600 of those going in the ground. To date, we have 600. You'll begin to see structure raise itself from the ground in downtown Miami by mid to end summer. So that'll give you a sense of the station itself. The deliverable on the station is still estimated to be December 2016. We will have delivery of the train by Siemens sometime in the fall of 2016, so we can begin testing along the corridor. The final update I will give you is Archer Western is the rail contractor that will begin in the improvements and double tracking along the corridor. And we'll make their point of contact available to you, the city staff, concerning anything you may have as concerns as we go through the process. You'll begin to see the infrastructure and quiet zone development begin sometime at the end of this summer, specifically coming north to south. So the impact will be more immediate on the city as we go south immediately. We have coordinated with staff. Michael Lefevre from our office is in charge of rail infrastructure, has had a couple conversations. We do have 90% plans here, which I can leave with staff also, that show the intersections that I think would concern the city the most. Intersections at 172nd, 163rd, 151, and 146. Those plans have been finalized and are in the hands of the GC now. So they'll be available, and they will also be available if you have any concerns as we move forward in getting that done. I think the final point I want to mention is, as you know, one of the efforts that All Aboard Florida has tried to do, and we're there already, is extending that quiet zone all the way. As you know, right now the quiet zone exists south of 79th. We have now gotten commitments by FRA for the quiet zone to extend all the way to West Palm Beach. So the entire corridor south of West Palm Beach will be a quiet zone with all the improvements necessary to achieve that quiet zone and all the safety precautions necessary to achieve the crossings. So that is a significant accomplishment for this corridor to that point, and the interaction between the corridor and the existing communities along the corridor. I think the last point I'll leave you with, and then I'll open up to any questions you may have. Mr. Quinty was mentioning the partnership that we've established with SFRTA in the hopes of achieving Tri-Rail at Miami Central. I think we're at a point where that is also within realization, and within this month you will see a lot of activity between the county, the city of Miami, and its sub-agencies as to the funding mechanism to achieve a station platform for Tri-Rail at Miami Central, which is significant. Being that the case, as Mr. Quincy mentioned earlier, we're also enthusiastic to begin moving that next process of getting then the corridor more interconnected along the FEC corridor itself.
Okay. I've got one quick question, and then see if anyone else. You mentioned the quiet zones, so we are safe to tell our residents that quiet zones will be all throughout basically throughout the county, and definitely through NMB, right?
You can tell the residents from West Palm Beach South, the quiet zones will be in place at every intersection, every crossing, and specifically in residential areas. I bought the design for 146, which shows how that interaction would occur within a residential area.
Okay.
But yes, you can.
Okay. That's good. I appreciate that. Second one, I remember there was, when one of the previous conversations, there was some talk about some other upgrades you guys were doing to the track. Something about, I think it was welded track, that it's quieter, it's a lot less clunk or something like that.
Correct. And
is that going to be on both tracks?
Yes. Yes, when we double track, we'll be improving existing track, and then also in the instances where today you only see a single track, and you'll see in some of the design work that I have here today, you'll see the putting in of the new track, which also will be similar to the improved existing track. So yes, the trains will be extraordinarily much more quiet than what you hear today from cargo.
Fantastic. Well, that's great news. Well, I'm certainly excited. Does anybody have any questions at all on this one? No?
Great news.
Well, that's good news. I mean, we look forward to it. I think it's going to be a great option for people, obviously traveling up and down from here to Orlando, and it's always a tough trip. You know, it's not worth the flight, and it's so you got to get stuck driving. This would be a great option, and the fact that you guys are working together, that's also good news, because that would really be a game changer for at least for our city. with transit. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me, one last thing here. Let me go ahead. I want to call up Chief Dennis again for a presentation to our Explorer Assistant Director, Johnson Jean.
Thank you very much, sir. Come on up, Johnson. This young man is another one of the fabulous products that our Explorer program has helped produce. And Johnson is he's a bit of an underachiever. He's excelled in academics. He was a star baseball player. He did 4 years in JROTC, where he rose to the highest rank of major, the battalion commander. He also served as a volunteer for Best Buddies. He was with the Police Explorers program from 2011 to 2014, where again he made colonel. He also represented over 9 states with the Southeast region. It was a youth board president for learning for Miami, and also amazingly enough, he is already done with his 4-year degree. This is a 21-year-old young man that has already completed a 4-year degree at Florida Memorial University and received a summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice, and received the highest academic in his class. So he's...
Wow. Great job.
I would be very remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Explorer leader Falome. He does so much with these young men and is so much involved in the molding of them, and we're very proud of the work that he's done. Additionally, we have a lot of our Explorers in the house, as I said before, but I wanted to mention 2 of them by name. We have Malik Dairy Card and Bradley Bourbon, who both graduated. Stand up. Great job. Graduated NMB today. So, excellent. And you'll recall that we came before the council approximately 8 or 9 months ago, where we set up a program to where we'd be able to offer scholarships for the kids that were involved in our Explorer program, scholarships that will allow them to attend the police academy, and it's no strings attached. Hopefully they want to come back and wear the NMBB blue, and but it is something that we really appreciate it, and I think it's just wonderful that we're doing this for these kids. So would you like to say anything, Chief?
Beach.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you, Mayor and Council, and also Chief as well, for the honor position and being here today. But first and foremost, I also want to give kudos to my advisor, also John Falome, who has really nestled and kind of molded me to be the leader that I am today, and also the Explorers as well in the corner, as you can see. Everyone with the distinguished stripes and colors and cords and shiny shoes, they're the ones who bring the fabric of the program together. So I just want to give kudos to everyone. It does take a village. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, once again, congratulations to every single one of the Explorers. Thank you, Chief Dennis. Thank you, John Falome. Johnson Jean, congratulations. Thank you very much. You guys are fantastic, and this city is very, very proud of you guys, so thank you very much. Okay, that was the last of our 6:30 items, so we're going to go ahead and adjourn the council workshop portion, and we'll be back in just... well, we'll be back in about 6 minutes to get started with our regular council meeting. Thank you.